Another exciting episode of Epicenter. Actually, this is episode 34. And I have an amazing guest here today, Mr. George Hartel. Do people call you Mr. or just Kun?
Kun George, yeah.
Kun George.
Or Kun Josh sometimes.
Kun Josh?
Yeah, sometimes.
Is that your middle name?
No, it just sounds like George, so I go with that as well.
Kun Jat.
Kun Josh.
Okay, good. So we're here with Kun Jat, or Kun George Hartel, Mr. George Hartel, COO of Supara? CCO
yeah.
Of Supara Group.
Yep.
Which, he's going to tell the story, but I'm going to first ramp this up because George and I, we met in the most, how would I say, obvious way. We were on an island. We were stranded. We had a few drinks. And we started chatting. I think it was at a barbecue. Mm. And lo and behold, it turns out that we lived in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like actually two or
really
three.
Close.
Yeah, 3 streets apart. And, it was like a match made in heaven. It was like romantic from the beginning. Well, for you Gen Zers, I mean, this is actually how people really meet, like actually bumping into each other and making friends and don't need to go onto some social platform and swipe left, swipe right, whatever. But as George and I began to know each other, I became really interested in his background. I mean, he's done some amazing stuff and basically how he transformed a company and a business during a pandemic and to being an amazing success story. So, George, welcome to Epicenter.
Ronan, thank you for having me today. I'm super excited to be with you, and thank you for that romantic introduction that you shared with your audience. I've been fortunate to have met you and really excited to be here today to share what we've been doing and the journey that we've been on. I think it's a very unique journey that we've undertaken and draws on a lot of experiences from multinational companies, working with the big giants, and then now like working with a Thai family business to do transformation. They're kind of 2 different walks of life, but a lot of the principles that matter to build businesses and grow them and to innovate and build great teams all apply, whether it's a big business or a local business. And so it's been a lot of fun to do this locally, and it's been a great pleasure to get to know you and your family as well.
That's awesome, and today, because I think I just want to set the tone. We're going to talk about a digital transformation, basically going from bricks to clicks. And I know it sounds pretty colloquial, but let's kind of give the audience a bit of your background because you're not from here. You come from New Orleans.
Yeah.
And how does a boy go from New Orleans to Bangkok, and what's the path that took? So give us a sense of you and your ramp up to here.
Yeah, I mean, New Orleans is a special place, and anyone who's been there knows how wonderful of a city it is in the U.S. I grew up there, and I think if I look back at the journey that I've been on, there's always been this excitement around like building and growing. And so I grew up there. I was an engineer, went to Tulane. I was a biomedical engineer and a mechanical engineering minor. So how I now sell shirts and underwear is
smart.
It's still a long journey to go through. So I hope we have time. But I was fortunate enough after university to go work at Newell Brands. At the time, it was Newell Rubbermaid, and Newell is, for those of you that are listening that don't know, Newell Brands is one of the largest consumer durable goods companies in the world that I said no one's ever heard of usually. So Brands like
pens?
Rubbermaid, Sharpie, Graco baby products, Calphalon, Coleman Outdoor Gear, Yankee Candle, just to name a few, right? But there's about 100 household brands that are part of the portfolio. And I spent my time there with them, really working on a combination of taking like tired old portfolios that had latent brand equity and rebuilding the portfolio, rebuilding the teams working on them. We were acquiring businesses that needed to scale. Some were offline and needed to get online. Some were in the US and needed to go global. Some were international brands but never launched in the US. So over the course of 15, 16 years, there was this nonstop capability and movement, even for me. Like the family moved 5 times in 10 years. We went from Charlotte, North Carolina to Virginia, back to Atlanta, and then Bangkok, and almost ended up with one more move when we ultimately decided to stay in Bangkok. And I think if I look at that journey, all of these experiences with so many brands and types of businesses. We did DIY. I was doing home improvement products with Lowe's and Home Depot. I was doing paint brushes at one time. I did mops and cleaning products for hospitals. And then we did pens like Papermate and Sharpie. And they were all in all different parts of the world and all different channels. So I was very fortunate to have touched and experienced so many different types of business. And I think when I looked at the business in Asia, I was heavily involved in the strategy that we worked on to enter China. And we had to do a refresh in India on Sharpie and Papermate. And I kind of started to spend a lot more time in Asia. Mm-hmm. Nothing like the experience that you've been doing over the years. But
this show is about you today.
Yeah, but it really started to get me excited because this was such a build region and you could do so much. So after 2 years of working on the entry strategy, the Newell team asked me to come out to Asia to run the business here and keep building it. And we happened to have a pretty decent sized office in Bangkok. Mm-hmm. We made all of the white like correction fluid pens for the world in Lycabang, about 10 miles from here. And we landed, and we, as a family, we were the first time expats, and we just fell in love with Bangkok. And I think part of it is my wife, Michelle, we met in New Orleans at Tulane, and Tulane is a lot like Bangkok. Mm-hmm. It is multicultural. It's got nightlife. It has spicy food. It's full of tourists a lot of the days. And it just has a genuine group of people that are really special in its own way. People that know New Orleans will say, there's no place like New Orleans. There's no people that live there that are like people from New Orleans. And Bangkok, to a large degree, is like this as well. So we really fell in love with Bangkok on a personal level. Professionally, I was really enjoying being in Asia. And then we decided to make this huge leap and just said we really would love to stay in Bangkok. And to do that, it was going to require me to find a way to not get moved around all the time, which is what I'd been doing professionally and to the whole family.
I think you were even supposed to move to India at some point.
We had talked about India. We had visited Shanghai as a family on a look-see. The company wanted me back in the US, which was a big opportunity and hard to even say no to because it was a great opportunity. And Newell was so good to us for so long. And we made the decision, said, look, we really want to be here. And so I said, well, if I'm going to be here and you really want to live in Bangkok and I really like Thailand, then I need to do something that keeps us here, but that is also is exciting for me to do from a professional standpoint. How can I help? I said, well, the transformation parts still apply. Mm-hmm. And so I was fortunate enough to link up and started the transformation work on GQ. And 2019, we started this journey. And
so for the audience, right? Yeah. GQ is not a big U.S. corporate.
No, GQ is not a U.S. corporate. It is a
small, family-run business, right?
Yeah, we're privately held, a single, one family ownership, multi-generational. So now on the third generation, wonderful group to work with, and it's been really fortunate over the last 5 years that they've welcomed me into the family unit and our whole family. And, it's been a really exciting journey watching the business and the team grow over the last, now May will be 5 years. And, on the output side, we've outpaced everyone. We're not shy about that.
Right.
We've beaten everyone in our peer set for the last 5 years, even during COVID. And it has been because of us systematically putting in place what we believe is a better operating model, whether you're small or big inside the organization.
That just didn't happen, right? And it definitely doesn't just happen in a family-run business, right? Here you are, you join in 2019, right? Months after you join, COVID hits, retail shops that you guys operate are closed. You have hundreds or thousands of mouths that you guys are feeding, and nobody is at your stores, and you don't have much of a digital presence.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So here you are thinking, what do we do, right?
Yeah.
How do we transform this? And you're also stuck on a remote island, Koh Samui, with an idiot like me. So tell us about that, because how do you go from that to where you are right now?
Yeah, I think if we go back just a little bit before COVID hit, right?
Yes.
So we're kind of mid-2019, and we're just starting the transformation journey. And I've been very fortunate to have an amazing partner with Win, the CEO, and he from day one, he believed in the conversations we were having of what was possible, believed in me as well, and he was bringing me in as the first foreigner, the first Farang hire at the company, right? And he made a big bet bringing me in, and I can't thank him enough for that, and I do on a regular basis. And he also is very genuine and thanks me for making the leap as well. And this bond that we've built early on fueled an excitement all the way up until November of 2019 when we launched the GQ White shirt. And GQ White was a fundamental shift in the apparel business. So for decades, for the family, for the industry, everybody is seasonal, fast fashion. Here comes the collection. When it sells out, here comes the next one. And we said, no, we're going to take a different approach. And we borrowed some of the principles from the CPG, FMCG business. We went out, we did insights. We said, well, what's wrong with the category? What are men struggling with? And we started to hear things like men don't understand their sizing. Like if you ask 10 men, what size shirt do you wear? They say, I'm M, L, I don't know. It depends on the size. Now, you're an e-commerce guru, right? How do you get people to buy online when they don't even know their size?
Right.
They don't even get into the returns discussion.
Yeah.
Like they won't even purchase. You can't get people to convert if they don't understand their sizing system. So we went out and we measured 1,000 Thai men, which had never really been done before. And we said, well, what is the actual size and pattern we need for Thais? Because Asian cut is actually mostly Japanese branded influence. And we found that there were significant differences in how Thais' bodies are, particularly the thickness of their neck, the shoulder width, how their waist to neck shoulder ratios. And we actually built an algorithm that you could just measure the shoulder. And so we created what was called GQ size. So there's no S, M, L, XL standard sizing in GQ. People learn that they're GQ 44 or 45 or 50, and now they know that that's their size. So we tried to eliminate this problem of purchasing online and remembering what your size was. If you want to still go to the store and try on, sure. And then the second part was that we were like, we don't want to be an apparel. We don't want to be a fashion business. And we say this repeatedly. We want to be a tech apparel company. We want to talk about problem-solving innovation. And so GQ White was the first step in that. We went out, we said, well, everyone has a white shirt. What's the problem with the white shirt? Most people are wearing any white.
Dirty.
You're going to get it dirty. You're going to spill your coffee on it. So this is like fear number one.
You're going to get like yellow under the armpits.
Exactly. All of these things were real. So we basically created a white shirt that was essentially stain-proof. And we demoed it to men and consumers. And we learned that essentially guys buy reasons why. Guys want fast cars. They want, not to overly stereotype, but they want gadgets. Guys want gadgets. And so they buy on that. So when we communicated, we started talking about gadgety things, like how hard you would have to pull to rip the button off, and how much you could pour on the shirt to show the pressure test of the product. And when we did that, we launched it with this really amazing viral video that we worked on. And it ended up with 50 million views in the first month.
Wow.
And we'd never sold more than like 200 shirts, white shirts in a day. And we sold 200,000 shirts in the first 60 days. And what it did was, this is pre-COVID, right?
Is this the
COVID.
video of like people getting like orange juice and everything poured on them?
And it went crazy. People, UGC wanted to pressure test. They were pouring water all over themselves, coffee in the soy. And it just created this amazing campaign where people were showing it off. People throwing buckets on each other to see if they could almost pressure test the product.
We got to put that in the show notes.
And so what more it did was not only, I mean, obviously we sold a lot of shirts, and it was a huge success for sort of rebranding the business of where we were going. But it built the confidence inside the organization that we were rallying around one single idea and one product, and that you could sell a lot of it if you really built something great and did a really good job with viral marketing. And so we were heading into the Songkran season. If you recall, there was I don't even know if you remember, there was a color changing shirt that we were planning to launch for Songkran. When you squirt the water, the color would change. It's so dead now that you don't even know about it, right?
Wow.
So we were just about to launch that. We spent a huge amount of money on this really innovative new, and the campaign was like, we're going to change Songkran forever. And the day we launched the PR at 2:00 Konkan, and everyone started canceling Songkran because of COVID. And that was like mid-February. And by the next 2 weeks, all water festivals, everything was canceled. And they announced March 10th that all retail was closing, the lockdown was starting. And like you said, we were sitting there going, holy moly, what do we do, right? Our retail business, we were just getting e-commerce started. This is 2019. Shopee was still kind of early days. Lazada was the big player in town. We were learning to get our D2C website up and running. Retail shutting down was a big problem.
Yes.
And so then the pivot happened that you were referring to. We said, well, what do we do? And what can we do? We have hundreds and hundreds of people in the organization. We can't leave them out to dry. And we looked around and said, okay, well, what are people using and wanting right now, right? They needed a mask.
Yeah.
We said, well, we can't do any mask because we're supposed to be problem solvers inside the organization. So what was wrong? And it was great. Like in 10 days, we designed, developed, and launched the Loop system, which became the gold standard in Thailand with the built-in lanyard.
Yep.
The inside of it, people were complaining about getting some form of acne already in the early days. So we went and sourced medical grade fabric from the inside that people use in diabetes patients for their legs to wrap them to reduce the amount of bacteria on the face. So it worked. And the outside, we used the GQ white fabric. So you would sneeze in the demo, or you would throw water on your face, it would bounce off. So it was like connecting the shirt and the mask. That was the original intent. We had no idea it was going to go as big as it did. We launched it. It crashed the website 5 times that first day. We got it back up and running. And 6 weeks later, like, more than 1 million masks have been sold. Every retailer in Thailand was calling because they needed masks to sell. Retailers that had nothing to do with like pharmacies, they needed masks because they needed to stay open and needed essential items. Mask was an essential item, so they could sell mobile phones if they had masks, right? So we became hot overnight, and the whole company shifted to mask making in the middle of COVID, both here and then abroad in the US, which is where the next part of this learning came for us about selling outside of Thailand on Amazon and D2C in the US. And so it was an incredible like 60 to 90 days where we didn't have capacity to make all these masks. We had to crowdsource factories all over Thailand. 2020, we kept 3,000 sewers maxed out OT all the way through most of the first phase of the lockdown, where most factories were stopped. We were just finding anyone we could get that could sew the mask to keep up with the demand we had globally. And yeah, it was a crazy pivot, but it taught the team 2 things, right? One was go keep problem solving even in the face of adversity. And 2, speed that we always talked about. Every time someone now says, oh, that's going to take a long time to develop, we sit in a meeting and remind them, you remember when we did the mask in 10 days? Don't say that it's going to take 4 months to develop this. We can do anything in 10 days. We can do any new project even faster. So it helped build the confidence of the team. And of course, it catapulted us in a whole new direction as we made our way through the pandemic.
That is such an amazing story, and in so many parts, because there's learnings to it, right? You talked about confidence a bunch of times already.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to give people the emotional confidence, right? To be able to do the things and the safety to do the things that they want to do, but also the innovation, right? And challenging yourselves beyond the limits that you know, right? And once you have that new high water mark, in this case, 10 days, if it's 10 days, we can do something in 10 days. Like, you instill that confidence in them.
I think too, Ronan, one of the things, just to add on briefly, is separate from the confidence was the team learned to get really scrappy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were in the middle of a lockdown. We were, the studios, no one would let us shoot. Like we did the Crayola shoot for the US at my house with my neighbor's kids, and our photographer came and we had like a single green screen backdrop in our driveway outside in April, right? It was like 100 degrees, like they're almost 40 degrees Celsius. And we did it, and the team did it on a dime budget with everything closed. And so they learned that you don't need the big agency, you don't need the big budget to film and shoot, that you can actually get really great quality work if you're thinking in a really kind of scrappy way. And I don't think any of them want to go back to that photo shoot in the middle of the driveway, but man, they still refer to it as being, remember those days? Like, that was a lot of fun. It was hard work. It was late nights trying to get it all together in time, and people worked really hard, but they still were enjoying the work. And I think was really important.
Doesn't that set the tone for the way that you as a leader and how you are changing the mindset of your team, right? To start to shift, right? Because it's moving out from a traditional mindset that is, we always do things this way. How can we change? Now they've shifted their mindset to see that, hey, we can do things scrappy. We can do hustle. We can do, things that we didn't think were possible at speeds that were possible. So you're starting to be a change maker. You're starting to already transform the organization, whether you knew it at that moment or not. Within months of COVID onset, now you have a whole different type of company with a whole different type of mindset, right?
Yeah, I think this is ingrained inside. We have a series of, our purpose statement is to create life-changing wearable solutions, but some of the values we believe in that we talk about that are on the walls if you come to the office, or things like to think like an owner. And the one that you're referring to also is to like make it a wow. And that one, like when you're in a room and someone presents something to you, or you see something in your feed, or you see something on TV or whatever you're consuming, and you go, wow. If you can't do that when you're looking at the idea or the presentation or whatever it is, then it's not good enough. And sort of go back and do it again. And it's not like it becomes like their guardrails around, their gate around whether or not something's okay to do or not. And in many days we talk about like, what you just showed is like ordinary. It's expected. We want the unexpected. We want the twist on the campaign. We want the twist in the product assortment, and even the mask. There was a twist to it, like the way we did it. We could have just made a 2-loop mask like everyone else and copied the hospital mask, but they went one step further with it. And it's been like that all 4 years with each of the successes that we've had. It's been really about how do you make things a wow. And that means sometimes the cost is a little higher to make the product right, or the video is got to go back and get redone, and the timelines get crunched. Like, this is part of making sure you don't really sacrifice something that is the right thing to do to make it a wow, just because of some part of the requirements that are in your business. And that's what we try to encourage, whether we're talking to big company or small company, people in your audience now. Like, try not to let cost, I know it's hard.
Yeah.
Try not to let cost, the legal team, some policy internally create this squeezing feeling amongst the team where they can't really do the innovation and what we call the wow work.
So if I understood correctly, pre-2020, companies mostly a retailer, right? Probably had some online sales.
None. So 2019, we were in the distribution model was just
pure bricks.
Pure department store.
Pure department store.
So we're in the department store only. No own store in the plazas in the mall, just the department store counters. No e-commerce, zero. And some prior to that, there was a bunch of OEM business. Now, what was nice is that the R&D side of the business had done a lot of OEM over the decades for North Face, Japan, Under Armour, Nike. So part of the family's business was doing OEM for large brands, but that's a complicated business to be the factory for big brands. And you're sort of one new sourcing director away from moving your factory from Thailand to Bangladesh or another part of the world in Vietnam. And so that's not a business that we wanted to stay into. So we exited those. And Win did a lot of that heavy lifting before I got there, which was great. So I didn't have to do too much of it with him. And that helped, as we could just focus on like the consumer facing side of the business.
And so you start to build this basically direct to consumer engine, right? You're building the team, you're increasing their capabilities, you're improving the way that they think, their mindset, and you're proving it with a lot of the changes that you've done from, the white t-shirt being one of the first iterations, but then the mask, then the underwear, then.
Yeah.
And here you are taking a business that, again, was reliant on its physical presence to now being almost, it has a dual strategy, right? There's the retail strategy, which has also been completely overhauled and super successful, beautiful stores now. But the digital side of your business is also equally interesting, right? And probably a major part of the growth engine for GQ going forward. And I think there's the speed at which you guys are, the pace of innovation is very interesting. And I remember you telling me about a new channel that you guys were basically exploring with TikTok shops, right? And you guys thought you were fast, but now you learn of there's fast and there's China fast or China speed.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about what is the learning that you had with your experience with TikTok and how that also helped shape the way that the company thinks in pace and innovation and basically the speed in which you can move.
Yeah, I think there's two really great examples of the what you call the China speed. If I go back just before we talked TikTok, the first example of it was when we launched D2C to the US during COVID. So we pushed really hard with the partnership with Crayola, who licensed the brand, and we were selling pre-order. 30-day pre-order because we were still making the product to ship to the US. We got so popular, the number one rating on Amazon, and all of a sudden we started getting reviews on our product. And we were like, how can there be reviews? We haven't even shipped the product to the US. And the Chinese teams had already copied the mask and had shipped it to the US, and consumers they had hijacked their listing, right? Because we were still learning. We didn't know how to do the gatekeeping on our brand registry yet. We were still learning Amazon. And so they hijacked the listing, they started shipping product, and the product wasn't to spec. So people were complaining. We were getting all these 1- and 2-star reviews on our product that we hadn't even made one yet. Of course, Crayola was upset. Why are these reviews coming in? So, but what it showed us was like, wow, like while we thought we were fast, the Crayola thing, program took about 45 days, even with the licensing deal. And we shipped in 30 days from the first order we got from consumers. And we thought, man, we are really moving it. They copied us, manufactured the product, shipped it to the US, and consumers had it before we could even get our orders out the door.
Wow.
And we were in the images they had shot, they did photos too. So we were talking about this China speed and said, wow, we should, maybe we need to learn from the China team. Like, how can they be so fast? And then when to fast forward to your original question, when we started meeting the ByteDance team from China, as we started to scale TikTok earlier this year, I've told this story a few times, but it's just been completely mesmerized with the fact that their team came from China. They didn't have one PowerPoint slide. They showed up they pre-requested, can we do home visits? Can we go see the market? Can we talk to your team? Can they tell us about what their experiences is in the seller center? What are the issues? They walked in with notepads and phones to video us, and we went to home visits to see consumers and how they consume TikTok, and they sit on the floor and where they sit on their bed. And all of this we documented, and we learned how they thought as well and how they viewed the consumer's journey. And what was amazing is the feedback we gave them during these sessions about the seller experience as a brand. The next week, the things were fixed. Now, I don't want to contrast it with my good friends across the pond in California at multiple brand agencies that do ads, but I can't imagine me making a request to change the platform in country to any of those large scale advertisers and see them listen and change it within the next week. And our teams felt so empowered that they told the management at TikTok and ByteDance that this was an issue, and the next week these issues were resolved. And it was fascinating to see this. And so we built this relationship with ByteDance, and as a result, we've scaled this business. It's scaled so fast, Ronan. I mean, the live streaming and the affiliates and the actual entertainment value on TikTok, everyone knows, but the TikTok shop has scaled so fast in Thailand now that we're still number one on Shopee, number one on Lazada in men's, and now TikTok is now bigger than Lazada.
Wow.
In 9 months.
That's crazy.
And growing month on month on month. And we can't pump it fast enough. And the assortment is very different. The user purchases very different product than our retail stores, and even very different than Shopee and Lazada. So it's been a totally new consumer we've picked up, and their taste and the assortment that we have to make for them now is very different. So we're starting to think about, okay, what are the product ranges that satisfy the customers in the TikTok platform? But just the speed, is incredible. I think truthfully, China gets a lot of flack, particularly from Americans sometimes, about the way they operate. And you don't have to agree with anything politically or whatever, but you have to admire their e-commerce capability.
Absolutely.
It is by far the most advanced and fastest at doing things that I've seen yet in the world.
Absolutely. So I'm super impressed, because it seems that in 4 or 5 years of basically transforming this business from a traditional retailer now to a full-blown, you could call yourselves an e-commerce company, right? I mean, you're driving business direct to consumer. You have your retail strategy. There's a lot of brands out there that are going to hear this story and be amazed with this type of transformation, because it's not trivial what you've done, and it's not simple. Right? This is brands are struggling to transform even till today, right? I mean, COVID was a great digital accelerator, and you guys are, you're one of the poster childs of basically how do you transform a business, right? What are the learnings? What are the learnings? What did you guys learn that is repeatable in terms of principles, in terms of how, you talked about it, but I think there's a lot of learnings that you can unpack from this. Mm-hmm. How does a brand go from being a traditional brand, and mind you, you are at a traditional brand at a family-run business, to becoming a brand that is now well-known globally, of course, major presence in Thailand, and has a major success in the digital world? What did you learn?
It's been such a learning journey. Sometimes it's easy to come on and talk about what we've done and describe it, but for all of us, it's mm-hmm. been such a learning. I mean, mm-hmm. When we're hiring, when we're sort of, I call it raising people in the organization, so many of the people, if you talk to them now, they have grown incredibly in the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, the people who run parts of our business, they didn't start that way. We all learned it together. We didn't know how to do Amazon. We clicked like everyone else and signed up as a seller. And then we learned it and we did it. And we started to do the D2C business, and we went out and we watched what was working in the market, and we talked to people in other parts of the world. A really great friend of Wynn's in Hong Kong, Roman, he really taught us how to do D2C really well, really get conversion. And one of the principles I think has gotten lost in all of this is we were very set on it. We were we're going to be unit economic positive from day one. And I think it's easier now after all that has happened with startups and the challenges that the tech community's had over the last 18 months. But we were thinking about that before. And it wasn't, while we watched a lot of other people around us trying to scale and dumping tens of millions, hundreds of millions mm-hmm. of dollars into growth for growth's sake.
Right.
We were busy focusing on how do we make our business sustainable and unit economic positive. And now we've built a very, very strong business, both mm-hmm. D2C and in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And those businesses are profitable. I would say if you asked around in Thailand, you would find very few e-commerce businesses that are profitable, mm-hmm. and ours is. And so we're quite, when we talk about that, it's at scale. We mm-hmm. spend at scale as much as anyone on D2C advertising, and we do it with incredibly high ROAS, and mm-hmm. we do it with very, very strong profitability on the business. And it's been attributed to this obsession that the team has had mm-hmm. with learning the whole time. We learned TikTok. Mm-hmm. When we started to scale as Shopee scaled, we learned how to be involved in their flash deals and how to do super brand days mm-hmm. and how to work with their account managers and how do we manage the logistics of all these deliveries on 11/11 and 10/10. I mean, how do you ship 10,000 orders in one day? Mm-hmm. It's you have to really be thinking about a lot more than just the selling side. How do we execute that? And so all of this is back to this. The team really tries, and we try to hire for it. We try to hire for people that are naturally curious. So some of our e-commerce people that are the best in their space, they don't have traditional sort of business backgrounds mm-hmm. per se. One's an accountant, one's a lawyer. I have an engineer. These are the people running our e-commerce business. One came from an agency. They didn't, in some cases, they had no experience in e-com, but they came in, they learned what we were trying to do, and they just have a natural curiosity for growth and problem solving. And with that, we can work with the teams quite well to scale. But that's been the biggest learning for us, is making sure, I think it's for anyone listening, mm-hmm. I don't know when, I'm not sure when it became okay mm-hmm. to just not make money for the business. That's fine in some specific situations, but this idea of building an e-commerce business that's not profitable in any way, shape, or form is I just don't subscribe to it, and we don't, and we won't. I think we will never subscribe to it that way.
So part of the ethos was like we have to be dollar positive, right?
Yeah.
We have to have the right people in place. What else did you learn along the way?
I think we learned also that you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's okay. One of the things that I talk a lot about, and it's not talked about enough in Thailand and Asia, is the importance of creating psychological safety with your teams. And it's missed so often in Thailand. Like even for foreigners coming in, there's this idea that I'm the big boss and that I'm supposed to sort of tell you what to do. And when you do something bad, I'm going to shame you or give you warnings. And it's there is nothing that we've done, and we failed a lot along the way. We can go through those, and we probably need a whole other show to talk about our failures. But what we try to do with the teams is not look at them that way. We really do look at them as learning opportunities, and the teams know that, so they're willing to take more risks. Like, hey, let's try this, and we try things and they just don't work, and we're like, what? Why did it not work? We tried a new category, it didn't work. Like the brand couldn't quite stretch there. We tried during COVID. We were trying to do like GQ Life, which was like Fatalai John and vitamins and like all these things that were medical related because of the mask, and then we really were like. Wait, this isn't really working for us.
So staying in your core, right?
Yeah, but it was also like, okay, where does the brand stretch and where can it not? Like there's areas where it can stretch, but there's areas where you're like, look, the brand's not going to go there yet. Maybe in the future it could. So we really focus on this and experimenting and trying things and just looking at them as real, true learning opportunities builds this team, the psychologically safe team. And in meetings, you see it, like assistant product manager, marketing person will speak up to me. He will tell the CEO, me, like, hey, I don't agree with you. And that, for a new person coming in that's from a traditional environment, they're like, wow, did he just like contradict you in the meeting? And my job is to not react, right? This is the problem with leaders. You're sort of sitting in a room with your team and someone says to you, Ronan, I don't agree with your strategy. You immediately, like your brain lights up and you're ready to go. You want to pounce. And that's your natural reaction. And the key is to just, okay, tell me more about why you don't agree. Because there's probably something in there you can learn.
Yes.
And the team sense that. And it's not about like the power or they start to build this zone of safety with the group, and then it really can flourish. We recently had it was really kind of an eye-opening moment. We had someone who's very senior at another large brand that's super successful in Thailand. I'll just keep it sort of anonymous for the purpose of the story. They came and they sat in our all-hands meeting. And they at the one point they were interested, maybe they would come join, but they were like, let me fill out what's going on. We said, we're not going to go through a traditional interview process with you. Like we met, we chit-chat, we talked. Like, why don't you come see what we're all about? So they sat through our all hands that we do once a month. It's top 30 in the company sit in the room in the U-shape, and everybody gets up and talks. And at the break, we walked over, we said, hey, what do you think? Like, they looked right at Wen and me and said, I don't know how, I can't help you all. I don't even know what value I would add. You have a team of vibrant people shouting across the room their ideas and laughing out loud and like challenging you in your presentation and challenging the people presenting. It's wonderful. And they're like, I couldn't come here and like help. Like you can come help us, kind of like, and until that moment, we were really hard on ourselves sometimes. It was like an eye-opening day for Wen and me, and he shared this story as well. Where it was like with the whole team, we shared it in another meeting. We said, look, this was a really great day for us to see someone even kind of come from the outside and share their experience of being inside our walls. And It is. It's really been about this. You asked what the biggest learning and what we picked this up, and we're just trying to make sure as we grow, we don't lose this. It's very important for us that we don't get to become corporate-y, and we don't get to be big and put a lot of policy and rules in place that control things, because then we'll lose the spirit of what has made it successful.
It's beautiful. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh,
I told you I had a curveball for you.
Oh, man. I think that if I go back to this idea that I've always loved building, and I think I was presenting. I think you were in one of the presentations at Sasson recently, and in my introduction slide, it says if something's, the more screwed up something is, the more messed up it is, the more I get excited. Or it's like a core product and business, and there's like, can you just manage the core? I really don't get that excited about it. It can do it, but things that are really need to be like turned around, transformed, it's a build. Maybe it's a new country to enter. That's exciting work. And this idea of building is something that's really important to me. And I think if I don't know, if I fast forward, maybe we'll all be in Thailand, I hope, for a long time. If it's 20 years from now or 30 years from now, I hope that people look back and say that, I was able to help them in some way, like transform or build something that's meaningful. We talk about like this, I don't want things that last a season. We want things that can last a generation. And I hope that some of the products that previously at Newell, we see them at hotels sometimes. I see them in hospitals. I see them in a stationary aisle. It's really cool to see that. You're like, sometimes I walk with the kids and I'm like, Dad built that. That was a product. That gel pen we made. It took us 18 months to make a gel pen, but we won't get into that discussion. But I see things now, and I like that feeling. And I hope that, in some time in the future, people can look back and say, we did something that helped people. And then, of course, there's the people side of it. And I tell my teams that I hope one day that you will get promoted or you will leave us. You will leave us to go work somewhere and run your own business or run a company. That will be like really gratifying for me. And a lot of times they look at me and go, "What did he just say?" I said, "No, I want you to grow here and hopefully one day leave and run a company or run your own business." And that's what we want to build inside. So I hope maybe one of them maybe will hire me when you're old and gray.
You'll be sitting on the porch in some way overlooking the sunset.
Maybe.
I'll be asking
watching the skin get leathery or something.
Can I come up, George?
Yeah. You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I think you just, like, it sounds like you've just done so much and accomplished so much in a very short time and it is a short time, right? 4-5 years in GQ, right? And probably still a lot more amazing stuff to do. Trailblazing, right? Doing stuff that people didn't think was possible. And I'm watching your progress and rooting for you guys from the side, and hopefully I'm going to meet Kun Win because he sounds awesome as well.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
I love him.
And before we wrap this, I want to do some quick fire with you.
Okay.
Are you down?
I'm so excited. Can you
Are
tell?
you?
No. Let's see.
Let's see. All right. Popcorn. Savory or sweet?
Movie theater butter. Is that one of the options? That's
I don't know.
Savory.
Savory?
Not sweet.
Not
But
sweet.
I will eat a whole bag of movie theater. butter, and my daughter as well.
Do you like the truffle one?
No, just the movie theater. Like the more butter,
the better.
Yeah, like it's all over your fingers. Like that's perfect.
You got to bring wet wipes in there.
Everything. Yeah, that's exactly right.
What's your favorite book of all time?
Oh. So you gave me one recently. Can I have two? Is that allowed?
You can have two.
Yeah. So the one recently, which I was fortunate enough to meet Martin Lindstrom through you, and he's been on your podcast as well. The Ministry of Common Sense is like, in a way, it's like opened my eyes to being really clear about what you call small data or just looking around. And I think that in a way we were doing that before, but like Martin's book gave it clarity and like words that really help. And I can't thank him enough for the time we got to meet and what he shared about how we look at ourselves as sometimes being lazy executives, that we have to get everything in bullet point form and one-pager summaries. In reality, like those have gone through so many filters that we've gotten ourselves, what he sort of talked about, so lazy that we can't even like go see for ourselves what's happening in our own stores or in our own app, right? Or whatever you're working on. So that was one, and the one that I still love, and I talk a lot about even recently as we've built the Fighting Giants community, is this idea of the adjacent possible, which comes from Steven Johnson's Where Good Ideas Come From. And the idea of this is that, hey, none of us are really that good at invention, and we're obsessive about invention. But as you know, like iPhone, many of the most incredible innovations in the world were never really inventions. They just pieced together things that were already readily available. And even things like the GQ white shirt, everything we put into GQ white was already readily available. The repellent technology was available, the stain proof, the sweat proof, everything we did, cotton, everything we did was already available. Even the box we put it in, it looked like an iPad. When you got it, it all looked like that. So Steven Johnson's Where Good Ideas Come From has been a guiding principle book for me as you think about like the adjacent possible and being a synthesizer in business and innovation.
I'm going to have to read that one now. Yeah. If you could have unlimited supply of one thing, what would it be?
So
you can't say popcorn.
Not popcorn. I don't think it'll happen in our generation, but I have recently, and Michelle as well, we've gotten very focused on health. And I'm a couple of our friends, as you know, we're in this chat group, and I'm very interested in seeing how long we're capable of prolonging life. And, that part is very interesting to me right now. Like, how do we crack the code on 120 years? And I don't know what that will look like. It will be probably a lot more gray.
You'd have probably about as much hair as I do.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this topic is, like Sinclair's piece and the things that we've been discussing and trying is really fascinating. And like things like managing glucose, all this is really fascinating, I think. And I think maybe we're just one generation. I don't know if our kids will get to enjoy it, but 1 or 2 generations away from probably prolonging the lifespan of what we consider a normal lifespan to be.
I got a book to recommend.
Do you?
Outlive.
Really? So now we both have books to read.
Yeah, well.
Thanks for the homework.
Yeah. Dr. Peter Attia.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Put it down.
Yeah. That's all about living the maximum during your good years, right?
Yeah.
Who's the most inspiring person to you? I didn't make it easy.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think she would be really annoyed almost that I'm going to say her, but you know Michelle quite well.
Yes.
This year will be 20 years we were married, right? We got married very young. And we in next year, actually, but we're in the 20th year. And she's just been such a driving force for me to constantly like better myself. And she's so creative and so thoughtful, and everything that she does, and her friends that are in her network know this. And I get to experience it every day. And so she doesn't know it often enough, and maybe I probably don't say it.
You can look right over there, George, and say it to Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. You do inspire me every day, and you have for the last 20 years. So thank you. She's just wonderful with the kids and the family, and is the glue that kind of holds us.
You're even going to make me tear up here
all together.
There's a tissue box on the table.
So thanks. Thank you.
What is one piece of advice you'd give your 23-year-old self?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So for all the things that I did learn early on, I did jump right into a big corporate company. And while there were wonderful pieces at Newell Rubbermaid or Newell Brands at the time in 23, I think that there could have been some early days where the sort of entrepreneurial, sort of even some of the scrappy behaviors that we've picked up now at GQ, it would have been really awesome to have had those. And I almost like love when we meet someone and we talk to them and they say, yeah, I tried a company and I failed. And I'm like, okay, you're already through my first hurdle. Like, you've been through the ups and downs. I would have loved early days to have had that like full failure experience rather than the sort of running the corporate ladder, just because I think it would have built a part of me that I ended up maybe getting much, much later in my career. And this is something that, you kind of bridging your other question, like it's something over the next sort of 2 decades I'm quite passionate about. You were at the session last week that we did for the 100 plus CEOs and executives. And we're trying to build this community here in Bangkok, talking about this need to, it's not, fighting giants isn't about like, going against corporates. It's people who are inside the giants are hurting too, because they're stuck like almost as a prisoner inside the system. And they want to break out of it, but they can't for whatever reason, the risk or challenges with it. And so what we're trying to do is just give some tools, even inside the big company, that can give people some of the sort of basic things that they can do to innovate and keep themselves fresh. And I wish that I could go back and tell 23-year-old me that those would be some fun things to do. I'm not sure he would have listened, to be honest. But I think it would have been great to have that experience.
Michelle would have told him to listen.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
George, thank you so much for dropping your knowledge on Epicenter. And I think this is, I've learned so much from you today, and you should be proud of what you're building. And, at 43, you can... you're building some awesome stuff, and you're having your startup experience that you wanted to have at 23. So you go, boy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Yeah,
thanks.
Great.
All right. That's a wrap.